Okay, so we have some people present. We are also recording this to Zoom, so you guys can watch it later. And I am going to share my screen so that this PowerPoint actually, one sec. Okay. Sorry, you guys can't see, they can't even see up on the screen all my fun things I'm doing. Oi.
Not sure.
It is, but I downloaded it and then I didn't open it from the download. Here, let me do. Okay, now, yeah. Slideshow, play from start. So let me, people can fast forward through the Zoom.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
that will be fun for them. I just want to make sure that my screen is on. I'm gonna hop on the Zoom. Maybe. I love technology. Actually kind of tech okay, normally. I'm the one people go to, right, Lydia?
Yes. Recording in progress.
Okay. It is on there. So my screen's up. Okay. So for those of you that aren't familiar, Mr. Kep, the choir teacher, he has went on a few, this will be your, or no, this will be your second one this year?
This will be my second one this year.
Okay.
The Spain trip will be the third.
Okay. So we went when my son Jackson was a senior. And then I actually went, I took a couple kids last year for, because there wasn't one planned by the school. And so I just took a couple kids that wanted to go. And we had a great time because they meet other kids. Like it wasn't, it's about your classmates, but it's also about the experience of meeting the other kids because you're with two, three other schools. They make friends, they have, lifelong connections. So that's really fun also. So we have experience with this. I actually also went on an EF trip when I was a senior in high school. And I look back, my mom was a teacher and my dad like did body shop work. I don't even know how they did it, but they did it. And so it's amazing. Like at the time, I don't think I was probably appreciative enough for the experience. So we wanted to get this planned now. Some of these have been planned with only 1 year in advance because that's just when it got put together. But I kind of really tried to get this started now so that there, you can have 2 years of payments because the 2 years of payments actually put it, it's like just a little bit under 200, I think, a month for if you pay over the 2 years. So we're going to get into some of this PowerPoint. Did you want to go through some of the PowerPoint?
I feel good.
Okay. My name is Kelly Henry, and I just told you about me. So let's move on. Do you want to say about you?
Sure. I think the benefit of world travel and getting outside of the US is just so profoundly important for young people, mainly due to the fact that there's just so many cultures that kids are exposed to here in America. But to actually sit down and be uncomfortable in a place that they might speak English, but it's not the primary language. And to get those sorts of experiences before going into college, I think it's impactful. I think it's important for kids. I think for anyone who's traveled before, you know how quickly that opens up your worldview. even just getting on a plane and getting out. Um, I think it's just wildly important for young people. But that's why I travel. I travel in order to see different cultures that are different than mine. I travel the world to see these, especially I think of historical sites. I've frequented Italy, and just being able to get to be in these places where historical events have happened. With Italy in particular, it's all of like the religious aspects where we get to hear about all of these different experiences, but actually getting to see the places and be in the places that these events have happened were really important to me. But then Spain is something that it's a place where culturally I know very little about. And so this is one of my first experiences getting to go somewhere that maybe I just don't know a lot about, and I get to be educated on the fly. Do you have any particular reason why you travel, or why the plan was Spain?
I think for me, so I do want to touch on the fact that as a parent, you can go. And I accompanied my children, and it was a fun experience for us because I didn't have to like be by them all the time. So you see on the trip, you see some of those parents that have to like be by the kid all the time. And that wasn't me, but I was still present and getting to experience. And Jackson, he's like, I just remember how cool it was, to have you there and whatnot. So for me, it's kind of a cool thing to do with my child right after they graduate, and we get to have this experience together. And there's usually some other parents. So, you're kind of with some other parents, but you're still kind of present. And it just is I just think it's a great experience and memory. And we picked Spain because I have heard so many amazing things about traveling to Spain and all of the different places. And then I also thought it was really neat because there's probably 5 foreign exchange students that are sophomores from Spain. And there's some from Madrid, there's some from Barcelona, there's some from other areas that we won't travel to. But I thought, how neat will that be in 2 years that maybe some of them can find us on our trip? They might, when we're in Barcelona, they might be able to come and have dinner with us and everyone can see. So I thought that would be a cool tie. And that's kind of why we landed on Spain. So, this is, some stats, things. I think we've covered a lot about, they grow more confident. There are some schools that don't allow the parents to come. We've traveled with some of those schools. Some schools, almost every kid had a parent. So it's definitely a variety. You get placed with other schools from different places in the country. It can be Florida, North Carolina. We had a school from Kansas City. So it's just a great way to kind of meet other people and have this shared experience.
Yeah, the big stat up there for me is the 88% one that says they grew more confident and independent. Confidence, I feel like the kids that go to Central Catholic have confidence. They know who they are, and they know they have this intrinsic sort of confidence that they can go out in the world in. But independence, I mean, they have been told what to wear and when to wear it for 7 years. And to be able to say that I got on a plane, I got to another country, and I made it back, that inspires some confidence. I mean, if you're able to go and do this, going and taking that step into college or going out into the workforce, that's a piece of cake in comparison to actually getting out and getting somewhere a little bit more intense. So we've already spoiled it.
Yeah.
Well, the other aspect of too, some kids don't realize this, but like we live in Texas, you go off to Canada, you're still in North America. All those miles, you go over there in Europe, you could be in London 1 minute, and then you're in Paris the next, and then traveling. The difference is, I guess, going from here to Canada.
Yeah.
To know that perspective, you get all that different culture going over. That's the fun part.
Yes. So the trip is 11 days. It's called Spanish Fiesta. So if you do go to the EF website, the trip is called Spanish Fiesta. So we arrive in Barcelona for 2 nights, then go to Valencia, and then Granada, and then Costa del Sol. We're there for 2 nights. There was a side trip that we could have taken down to the I can't remember what it's called, right where Africa and Spain kind of connect, but it's a very, very long day. And they said a lot of the travelers prefer to stay in Costa del Sol and have like a big beach day. So it's kind of a fun, relaxing beach day because these trips can be a lot of walking and seeing and going and bus time. So then one of the days in Costa del Sol is a nice beach day, and then Seville, Cordoba, and then Madrid for 2 nights. The Cordoba is a quick stop during the day. So there's bus time, plane time. It's just how it is, but it is fun. You get to see so many things and you don't have to plan and figure it all out.
I've seen EF tours that last for 4 days. The primary cost of any of these sorts of tours is the flight. It's getting there. And so if we're getting there, spending a little over a week, I think is important. Because the primary cost is the actual getting to and from.
Yeah. So these are the days that we have selected. Now, the justification of this, May 31st, your early departure can be as soon as May 28th. But if we say June 1st, the price changes $300. So it still falls within state golf. I have looked to see when state golf would be if there's any golfers. And it would be the day after the earliest possible departure would be the day after boys state golf. So, and boys state golf is always after state track. So I feel like all the activities should be done and this should be safe. I also think it's great to really just get it done right then when you can, because as you get into June, everything gets busier and busier and busier. And so I just felt it was nice the May 31st, just having the start date in May made it less expensive. So you don't know the exact dates until 2 to 3 months prior to departure, which I get it. That's kind of crazy.
But it's not, it's like
But-
a 3-day difference.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's not much. It's not much.
the trip we're going on this year, the requested date departure was June 2nd. The actual departure date was June 4th. It wasn't, that 2-day difference ultimately
Mhm.
probably saved us money, so.
Okay, so I can go over you guys can read it, but I'll also just read it. So we get to Barcelona, and I honestly am not going to read this stuff because I will not pronounce any of it correctly. So there's some guided tour time. There's always some guided tour time, and there is usually some free time sprinkled throughout. We always just make sure we know who's with who. There's an adult with them, and so on and so forth. So we figure it out. We know where people are going. And the Spires is amazing. Like the pictures of that are crazy.
The big point on this is that we're meeting our tour director and our tour director stays with us the entirety of the trip. This is not us leading and trying to help culturally show the cultural significance of these places. We have someone who is with us 24/7, stays in the hotels with us, wakes up with us, speaks the native languages of the places that we're going, and is really the point person in charge of the trip once we're there. So that tour director is a huge point for us. I don't know, like my wife and I have traveled to Toronto. You just kind of have to make up the trip when you get there. You try to do as best as you can to Google things ahead of time, but our tour director is there doing the things. In the trip that we're going on this summer, we're going to be going to the Vatican. The person who is our tour director is already there, went to the Vatican Museum and purchased our tour tickets. So those are already purchased. We didn't have to worry about it. We didn't have to worry about any sort of QR code. So that person's really important.
You have a lot of tour guides, individual tour guides throughout it, because they find local tour guides that they hire like through the trip, but our main person stays with us the whole time. So these are just more highlights, more things that we will see.
Christopher Columbus. So cool.
That's the Costa del Sol, kind of that beach area. just kind of a reflection, look at it, see what's most exciting. So we'll just, in essence of time, go on. Like we just talked about, the tour director, then there's also expert guides in the local areas. And they do the hotel check-ins and everything. And they find out their rooms, right when we get to the hotels. Like it's a really good lesson or an experience for kids to have to deal, right? Not everything is perfect sometimes. Sometimes you don't get to be with your bestie, or maybe there's three kids that fit in each room and you have a group of four, and it really helps them to experience things, because sometimes kids just need to experience things. So it's a really great way to, have life lessons and learn things, and a great way to get your kids to eat different things too, because they get what they get. Like the food is provided, but that's their food. There are some lunches maybe on your own.
There's
I feel like,
usually like one meal, like one or two meals where you have to like, they bring you to like a plaza and there's different food options and you can go and pick there.
Mhm.
But a lot of the meals are
included. Yeah.
included.
Yeah.
There they are.
Okay, so your tour directors included the transportation, breakfast and dinner. So sometimes the lunches are on your own. The hotels, you would always want to tell your children that hotels in Europe are different than hotels in America. And it is a good experience, right? And I myself has sat on the edge of the bed and like, had to have a moment because I know the hotels, some of them are interesting. And so it opens your eyes to, we are very spoiled in America, and it really just helps them experience things that are different. So the sightseeing tours, you get tickets to all of the different places that we go. There's an option to receive academic credit, and we've never dealt with that, so I don't know that much about that. But if you are interested in that, we can look into it. And experiential learning.
Now, I'm just curious, Europe, at the hotels, do you know if they are, outlet?
The outlets are different.
Yeah, so we'd have to bring adapters. Yep, we would have to bring adapters. So you are responsible for passports, so you would need to make sure if your kid is going and they do not have a passport yet, don't wait until 2 months before the trip. You would want to do that right away. Baggage fees, if you check your bag, they honestly encourage you to just have a carry-on. They want everyone to just have a carry-on roller bag, pretty much. And we did. I mean, so the tips are not included. We'll figure all of that out beforehand, and then we have it all divided out into envelopes so that we can give it. And I don't know the dollar amount, how much. We can find out how much that ends up being.
They will usually give us the dollar amount for tips about 2 months before departure, because then they'll actually know exactly how many bus drivers we'll be having, how many tour guides we'll be having. And so it feels at times like a hidden fee, but they're pretty upfront about it.
Mm-hmm.
So just be aware that there is a total price, but then there is this extra. I want to say it usually runs around $150 for tips.
Yes. And so, like I said, snacks and some meals. So you'll want them to have a credit card. You don't necessarily have to worry about cash in that currency. Usually, I think if everyone just has a card that they can use, and Apple Pay is very prominent in Europe. Pretty much everywhere takes Apple Pay. And so they can have that in their phone, and they can have an actual card if they would need it.
Just tell your bank you're going.
Yes. And there is like rooming upgrades. So if as a parent you want your own room, that's an upgrade. If as a student you only want 2 kids to a room instead of 4, those are upgrades that you can pay if you so choose.
When it comes to the tips, I'm assuming that it's on how many people are going, how much also the cost will be, because if you divide it.
I think it's like a per person.
It's usually a per person sort of thing. And so they take how many people we actually have going on our specific trip. Yeah. You were right on track.
So it's pretty much a bus load, and yeah. But if you have because it was a small group of us last time, there was just 4 of us. So I just had to, they said it needs to be this much per person. And so then I just always would have to tip based off of the 4 people. Okay, so this is the trip cost. So it's 4,400 is the total cost for a student and 5,300 for adults. And that is because of the occupancy. So adults are just 2 people occupancy in a room. And I have roomed with an absolute stranger before, and I live to tell the tale. So it's so, but if there's more, I'll definitely room with whomever goes. But we figure all of that out. But I didn't want to pay even the upgraded beyond that. I'm like, I'm fine. I like people. I can meet people. So. And this includes a 200 enrollment discount that expires May 2nd because they have an early enrollment, so that they can kind of get a pulse on what the numbers are going to be. So now through May 2nd, this includes $200 in savings. And then remember also we did the May 31st, which was $300 less than June 1st. And then you can cancel for up to 7 days after your enrollment for a full refund. So if you pull the trigger and then in 5 days somebody says something or you think you remember something, you can cancel for a full refund. And then I remember seeing I don't know if it's on the next slide, in the email she said something about anyone who enrolls. So there's a raffle offer running right now. So anyone who enrolls starting tonight through tomorrow night will be earned to win an extra $300, will be entered to win an extra $300 off their trip. So that's just a raffle thing that EF does. Any questions about the fees? So you can pay upfront. You can have it take monthly, and then you can, if your child works this summer and you say, okay, if you want to do this, we'll do this, but you need to do that. Half your summer money has to go to the trip. And then, so you can do kind of some bulk pay type of stuff when you want to send money in.
Students who are able, a summer of detasseling pays for a lot of this trip.
Mhm.
It really does.
Yeah. And we could talk about some fundraisers. I don't want it to be, the school kind of doesn't, they like to control the fundraisers, so we're not going to be crazy about it at all. But I am experienced in fundraisers and I can help you guys figure out some different ways to maybe raise some of the funds if you want to or need to. So questions about the fee? The 7 days, does it go into it after?
Near the end, I think there might be discussion about it, but I can figure out what that is. Because there is a cancellation policy up to a certain amount of time. And I think it's like you can cancel up until, I want to say like 6, maybe.
But it must not be full.
9 months. It's somewhere around the 9-month mark.
Yeah.
Of cancellation. And then there's some sort of deposit. But I'll get you exact information soon.
Mm-hmm. So this is just a little about EF tours, how they do have a long history in travel. Like I said, I did an EF tour when I graduated, and it shows some local schools that have also done EF tours. Oh, do they? Here, I think they do World Classrooms for our DC trip here. But yeah, the lots of trips. They have a ton of trips. Every itinerary includes hands-on immersive learning, and it's just helping students learn along the way.
Yeah, the main point of this slide is that we can go down to Cozumel and sit on a beach and relax, absolutely. But the whole point of this, it's in the name of the tour group, it's education first is what EF stands for. The trip is educational. You are moving. We're trying to fit as much as we can in these days. Trying to see as many sites as we can in the most intellectually stimulating sort of way possible. as opposed to, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna sit on the steps of this cathedral and look at it.
Yeah.
That there's always some sort of educational
Yeah,
component.
there's always
to
the
it.
guide with the earpiece telling you about the thing, so it is entertaining. And even when we're driving around, sometimes a guide gets on the bus and talks about, because sometimes the hotels are a little bit outside of the city. So there's an instant response team all the time. The safety training, like I have to go through a background check. We have to do background checks to be like the sponsors or whatever. And we haven't, I know Mr. Miller is going on this summer's trip.
He's no longer.
Oh,
but
he isn't?
yeah.
Oh, shoot. Okay. So anyway, we'll see if it ends up being another teacher or just us two. We kind of, it depends on what enrollment we get, and then we decide how many are kids, how many are parents do we need to try to get more. And even if, there's travel issues, we went through some travel issues, we figured it out. It happened. Travel issues happen now. It's just kind of what happens.
On the safety end, the biggest thing that I saw was I'm the person who leaves their wallet places and forgets it. But they did a really good job of constantly communicating, show me your passport before you get on the bus, show me your passport before you get into this car, show me your passport before we go into this place. And so we were constantly having these reminders. But if we did lose it, EF digitizes all of our passports, and they have locations set up that if for whatever reason that gets lost, they can get you one back very quickly so that you're not stuck in, I don't know, Spain for the next year and a half.
Yes. So they also have, if you want to do, or your child wants to do personalized fundraising page, they also have that as an option. So like a GoFundMe type of thing, but it would be for their EF. So if they have grandparents or aunts and uncles or something, they could, they could do something like this for Christmas or their birthday or something like that. So I need to move my little people. So I think that price includes the global travel protection, and there is a plus that you can also add on. Any reason up to 24 hours before departure for a full refund. But I don't know the price of that. So we'll have to see.
I'm not sure, but if you see the one on the left-hand side, any reason up to 1 year before
Oh, yeah,
departure,
1
full
year.
run refund, except for your $95 deposit. So if we were trying to get in on those savings, maybe that $95 is worth the peace of mind of I got in and got the $200 discount. Is that what it was?
Yeah, $200 discount.
Maybe that's worth it in your eyes. I have not ever had a person sign up for the Global Travel Protection Plus. I'm not quite sure what the price is on that. But
Yeah,
24
I'll
hours
ask
before
her.
departure is pretty intense.
Yeah, but I can ask her how much it is. Okay, there are different phone numbers. Okay. If you enroll within the next 24 hours, you will qualify for risk-free enrollment, save $200 with the early enrollment discount, and be entered to win an extra $300 discount. Oh, yours isn't doing the little spinny.
Oh, well, there you go.
Oh, there, now it is.
So,
So one lucky person will get $500 off total. Okay, so secure your spot by May 2nd to qualify for the discount. There is a QR code that you can scan. That is where you can get more info and sign up. And I can also put that link in the Facebook group. And if you have friends, not everyone is in the Facebook group. And so if your child is friends with people, I would encourage you to just spread the word. Some people don't know. I reached out to some people last week, but I didn't know everybody, and I didn't get completed through the list. I didn't get phone numbers. I only got email addresses, and I know how my email address is. So, I mean, I don't see all the emails. So I will go ahead and drop this in the class group in the posts that I had done. So that's done. Is that the last slide? Questions? And that's it.
How many are usually in this group? You know, not just setting.
Of like Central Catholic or in general? Well, so the last trip that we went on, I think that we had, I want to say roughly 8 students and maybe 4 or 5 adults.
Yeah.
And then your trip was much
Yeah.
smaller.
Yes.
Because it was like.
Because it was just
Here we go.
me. Yeah, it was very last minute. So I would say the history of this is before COVID, the EF program here at Central Catholic was very thriving. Like I remember hearing lots of great stories about it, and it just hasn't picked up since COVID. But it's hard to find a teacher who will spend 12 days, 10 to 12 days of their summer, leave their family and go do this. So,
You
Mr.
didn't have
Kep,
to say it like that.
well, I don't mean to make you feel bad, but
No.
it is, it's a commitment. So it just hasn't gotten as much traction. But when some parents last year had heard that I was going and taking, the kids, they were like, well, how does this work? And so I said, you should reach out, so they reached out to you and they wanted, so it has been a little more parent driven, but I feel like now you're probably going to get, now that you have a couple under you and this in a couple years, it just needs to be an annual thing. I feel like when you do it biannually, this is my personal opinion, when you do it biannually, you mix juniors and seniors, and it's not the same experience. Because there's a lot of things that you can do in Europe when you're 18. Okay. And because the drinking age there, it's 18. And so the kids do like to go, but they're always supervised, somebody's always with them.
There's
but
also a waiver that signs that
Yes.
they don't, that they.
Yes. And if you don't want them to do that, you can sign a waiver and they don't have to drink or anything. But it just makes it simple if it's just seniors. It's a special thing for seniors to be able to do. And also juniors, you are involved in a lot of activities still. At that point, there's, weights have started, this has started, basketball, all kinds of things. So I would say it's going to continue to grow. How many do you have going this year?
I think total people, we have 13.
Yeah.
I want to say, what I like about it being seniors is that it really does feel like this step into adulthood. It just really feels like this natural step of like, I'm off going and doing this like big adventure, and then I'm going to come home and I'm going to prep for college, and then I'm out. And I think there's just something really cool, especially as a teacher, getting to see these kids who maybe I have known since they were a 6th grader or 7th grader, and getting to see them, spread their wings, pretty dang close to literally. As far as how many people are on the trip total, we usually partner with a couple schools, and that's not through us. We don't partner that. The company does. And I think what we had on our first trip, I think we had about 60 people, 45.
It's usually one busload.
Yeah, it's
because it's not
bus of
2.
people.
However many people fit on a
Right.
bus.
It's one full charge bus.
I
so-
think it's one
so
bus.
not that-
Yeah, it's roughly 50
Yeah,
people.
I think it's.
And when they do they room with some of those kids?
There's
can.
potential.
So let's say that there are 4 boys from Central Catholic and 4 girls. They are probably going to room together.
Right.
But in our trip, I think we had 3 girls and 5 boys. And so the 5 boys had to decide, are we gonna have one person go be the stray? Or are we gonna split 2, 2 and 1? Or are we gonna split 3 and 2?
Mhm.
How are we gonna split? And then the girls just they were in with other people. But I think that's really cool because it allowed some of those kids to express themselves in a way that was different than maybe what they have been at Central Catholic. Central Catholic has a lot of really awesome things. one of the things that Central Catholic is pretty much known for from the youth perspective is that when you do something in 6th grade, it's going to stick with you. When you do something in 8th grade, it's going to stick with you. And so for them to go out and have these experiences and want to express themselves as their 18-year-old self, sometimes having those other kids around, getting to say, oh my gosh, did you see that? Not having to have the worry of, oh, did you see that? Oh, well, when you were in 7th grade, blah, blah, blah. He wouldn't have said that. It's like, yeah, I'm a new person. I'm 18 as opposed to 12.
Yeah.
So I really like the fact that there are these other groups and we had different perspectives. I think when we went, we had one group that was a strictly public school, and we had another group that was a Protestant private school, and then we were the Catholic school, and getting to have conversations about faith as we were traveling was really neat to see, getting to hear them talk about their different life experiences just from Nebraska versus, I don't know what
I
it was.
think they were North Florida and
or
North Carolina, I think. Mhm.
And getting to hear just the cultural differences in our own tour while experiencing something that was very other was neat.
Mhm.
So you got a tour guide the whole time, basically.
Mhm.
So say like a typical day, are you with that tour guide the whole time, or is it free time? How does this kind of work?
We are with that tour guide, I want to say pretty dang close to 98% of the
So
time.
you're with the whole group pretty much the
Yeah.
whole time.
They'll
You go to breakfast together, you do the tour, then you got lunch, probably a little free time. Lunch.
Yeah, there's like some free time within the day. Like maybe you go to like a palazzo type of a place, like let's say is it in Italy where, you go and there's the Spanish Steps and there's the Parthenon. There's like 3 significant things within walking distance. And it was kind of cool because it's like, okay, we all meet back here in an hour and a half and use your phone, use your maps and find these places. And so they had to make sure they were with people, they stayed with people. So, but they all had to figure it out. So that was really cool. So
there are moments for them to be independent, but not moments of unsupervision, if that makes sense.
mhm. Yep. Yep. And other schools maybe handled it differently. Like the one where there wasn't any parents, then those kids were a little bit more
Feral.
yeah, like on the
It's
cruise.
easy for
So when we went on the trip, part of our trip was a cruise. That was a whole different ball game as far as the social life at the nighttime in the cruise was really happening for these kids. So, but we don't have anything like that. And even when I went with my son last year, since we didn't have the cruise thing, the whole nightlife, it doesn't really exist. Exist that much because your hotel is off because they're not going to have your hotel in the middle of
Barcelona.
yeah,
And it's
it's kind of outside of
outside.
city center usually and whatnot. So
Instead of us if we were traveling to Omaha, we would be staying in we'd be staying in Pavilion. I mean, we wouldn't be staying in downtown Omaha because that increases the cost of your trip. It increases, that it just increases the price dramatically when you stay in hotels that are in major cities like that. Well, in the heart of major cities, excuse me.
mhm. And a lot of the between the cities, you get to see a lot of countryside. I mean, sometimes you sleep through some of the bus rides because who doesn't fall asleep on a bus? But there is a lot of neat different areas that you do get to see. So
Is there a minimum you'll have to have? Or no?
not really. I mean, ideally the minimum would be 6. That's not bad.
It's 4,400, basically, like discounts and everything. Right?
Yes. Yep. Yep. And so some people pay up front, some people pay I think on the little form, you can do some different plans. It doesn't have to be monthly.
There's a manual plan and then there's an automatic plan. So you do the automatic plan where there's a specific dollar amount that they have and you can increase that if you would like. And then there's also the manual plan. The problem with doing the manual plan is you have to have a lot of financial foresight. With the manual plan, you have to be paid in full by a certain point that's earlier than the automatic payments. So that would be the downside of that. But if you're if you have the money and you want to just rip the Band-Aid off and that helps you, there is that option.
Yep.
So it's flying out Omaha, they take care of that.
Yep.
Usually, yeah, they take care of all the flight
Yep.
deals. So for us, for our last trip, we flew from Omaha to Toronto and then Toronto out. This year we're flying to Philadelphia and then taking Philadelphia out. And so it just depends on pricing of flights.
And we figure out the transportation to Omaha ourselves. Because some people, depending on the time of it, I remember some people, they wanted to bring their kid there and, say goodbye at the airport. Some people carpooled. So we all kind of carpool and figure it out. We don't do a whole charter bus thing like the DC trip would do, because that's really expensive and unnecessary, because we're not going to have 50. I mean, maybe, you never know. You never know.
The people who are going will be graduated. I mean,
Yeah.
they're gonna be adults and they're gonna be kind of outside of the Central Catholic. I don't know.
Yes, so it's not like because you've graduated, it's not a Central Catholic liable type of a trip. Does that make sense? Like
It's not associated affiliated.
It's
it's not affiliated, so it's not within their like liability. You can't sue Central Catholic. Let's just put that
So
out
if that
there.
was the plan, I mean.
Yeah,
you
if
guys-
that was the plan, it's just out the window. Okay, any other questions?
They're good questions.
Okay,
Thank you.
yep. So I will stop this recording and I will end up posting this video.
For the